that you're hearing is Gael's lamb chop.
I had a feeling it was going to be his toy.
He wanted to play you the song of his people, and now he has.
I have heard the song of his people officially.
All right. You're listening to Archaeopolitics, a Harry Potter reread podcast focusing on politics in the wizarding world. I am Adri, your fully vaccinated host and recovering English major. That sounds like a flex, and it is.
Yeah, it totally is. I'm Helene, your co-host, producer, and second vaccinated co-host, or at least half vaccinated, because I got my first shot today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're Pfizer twinsies, and I love it.
We are. I'm so excited. I had like a list of like, I wanted the Johnson & Johnson the most because
it's just one and done.
Yeah, but that one's not easy to get right now. So if it was between Pfizer and Moderna, I wanted Pfizer more because I've heard, well, Moderna, you have to take like longer between shots, and I heard that the side effects are worse for Moderna. So I really wanted to get the Pfizer, and I did. What?
Well, my parents got the Moderna, and they had very little side effects, but I've read that the younger you are when you will get vaccinated, the more likely it is that you'll get a harsher immune response, hence side effects.
That makes sense. Yeah, my dad, I don't think had any my parents both got Pfizer, but my dad, I don't think had any side effects at all. And my mom had like some nausea, but that was it. And so they got off easy. That's for sure.
Well, your girl here got some brutal side effects. My entire body was in pain and like all my joints hurt. And I was like, is this what being 80 is going to be like? Because I don't know about this, you guys.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. I haven't gotten anything yet, obviously, because I just got it like 4 hours ago. But I am kind of expecting the worst. So we'll see.
From my first dose of Pfizer, I got like exhaustion and some like very light headaches. But it wasn't anything where I couldn't get over it. But I did sleep a lot, I will say. But this one, the pain was such that, and Tylenol really didn't help that much, right? And I didn't want to overdose on Tylenol. So I couldn't really sleep because I couldn't find like a comfortable position where I couldn't feel my entire body.
That sucks, man.
So I don't know. I felt like, it's like your shoulder blades are not things you should feel.
True. Yeah.
That was the level of pain I was feeling, was like that like juncture of the shoulder blades. And I felt it everywhere, like just every single thing, like the space between my fingers on the palm of my hand, like the space between the bone. I felt that very acutely, and that's just a very weird thing.
Man, yeah, you really got me looking forward to April 29th, the day after my second dose is going to be fun, and I'll be in a new life situation that I will have to be. I can't really say yet on the podcast. Next week, I think I'll be able to officially announce my new life situation.
Announce it. Yes.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I know, because I'm special.
Yes. I will say it is something that I have worked very hard for over the last year or so, and I'm very excited.
Things are starting to look up, so watch out.
Yeah, so tune in next week if you want to know what my big news is.
But not for the podcast. You would do it, like, honestly, people are doing it for this teasing of the news. Right. It's never for the actual podcast.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 29 of Order of the Phoenix, Career Advice. Also, I'd like to pat myself on the back for that seamless transition. And I know that I'm just, like, eviscerating myself by doing that, because then I just cut the transition seamlessness out of this by noting it.
My formerly seamless transition.
It is what it is. You gotta celebrate your victories any way you can.
Exactly. Well, anyway, chapter 29. This is the one where, racked with confusion on how to feel about seeing his father in Snape's memory, Harry decides he needs to talk to Sirius, so Fred and George create a distraction to help him break into her office. Her being Umbridge. I forgot to include that in the summary. And then meanwhile, Harry has a career consultation with McGonagall, and Fred and George become, as we have said in previous Patreon exclusive contents, Fred and George become magic school dropouts.
It's my favorite. Before we get into it, we'd like to thank our lovely patrons because podcasting ain't free, so we gotta pay some hosting fees. And that's where patrons come in. And if you want to become a patron and help us keep the show alive in its, in the ER, I guess, somewhere, go over to patreon.com/occupolitics.
Yeah, $2 a month on Patreon is going to get you access to bonus content for every episode, and then the $5 and $10 a month tiers are going to get you physical rewards every 3 months, just like those beautiful stickers that 2 of our patrons posted on social media over the last week. They answered our call, and so check out our social media if you want to get an idea of like what our Patreon exclusive stickers could look like, and then sign up on patreon.com/accupolitics to get some of your own because they're awesome.
And we are brainstorming as to perhaps what else may come your way as a patron, so just hold that space in your mind, going back to, I wonder what they're going to do next. And the answer is something magical.
Exactly. It always is something magical. Yeah, tell us what we're going to be talking about today in our Patreon exclusive segment.
Well, speaking of magical things, in today's Patreon exclusive content, Helene is the author, and she takes a stab at writing her own Harry Potter or Wizarding World canon character.
Yes. So last week, if you'll remember, for our patrons, Adri did this. She came up with her own canon character that she wrote into the story or would write into the story if given the chance. And this year, it's my turn. And I'm pretty excited about mine. I can't wait to tell you guys about it. So keep listening.
That's very exciting.
But until then, we have to get through the episode to get to the Patreon exclusive content. So now it's time for our Potter Watch segment where we're going to discuss some of the latest news in the United States.
All right, so what do we have in the year of our Lord 2021 going on this week?
The one that I saw over the week that I thought would be worth mentioning on our Potter Watch segment was there's been a lot of stuff going on with the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin trial that's going on in Minneapolis right now. It's officially started. Testimonies have happened, things like that. And one of the big kind of bombshell realizations that came out this week in regards to the trial was that evidence came forward that proved that Derek Chauvin actually knelt on George Floyd's neck for a total of 9 minutes and 29 seconds, not the previously accepted 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which has kind of become like a staple of the case. And people have been taking like 8 minute and 46-second moments of silences and stuff like that. And I know that George Floyd's family like knelt in front of the courthouse in a moment of silence for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in memorial of their son, or of George and their family. And turns out that he actually spent 45 extra seconds than we thought he had doing this heinous act that led to the death of George Floyd.
And like it's 8 minutes and 46 seconds was bad enough.
Yeah.
And to find out that there's, it was actually longer than previously reported, reprehensible.
Yes. So in the opening statements of his trial, the prosecuting attorney, Jerry Blackwell, repeatedly emphasized this new timing of 9 minutes and 29 seconds, telling the jurors that they were the three most important numbers in this case. So it's really going to be like a big tactic on the prosecutor's side to play this up, because it just shows how heinous the act was. Try doing like anything for 9 minutes and 29 seconds and tell me that it's not intentional. If you are brushing your hair and you brush your hair for 9 minutes and 29 seconds and your
Do
hair,
you even have any hair left, first of all?
like, and then you're at the end, your hair is, not tangled anymore. Can you say that your intention was not to untangle your hair? Like that, it's just, it's telling.
Well, I guess, like, for me, it's more like try doing any, like, hardcore physical activity if you're out of shape for 9 minutes and 29 seconds and tell me that it's not intentional and that, you didn't feel like you had to stop at some point, but you kept going because you had to do the whole 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a big deal. I know that 45 seconds doesn't, like, really sound like anything.
See, but to me, like, even like the fact that 8 minutes, again, 8 minutes and what is it? 46. So 8 minutes and 46 seconds, still reprehensible, still horrible. My whole, like, argument about the, like, jumping jacks or strenuous physical activity still holds. Anything over, I don't know, 20 seconds to me is just super intentional.
Yeah. So Jerry Blackwell, the attorney, even went as far to break down the timing of what happened in those 9 minutes and 29 seconds. So to give you an idea, the first 4 minutes and 45 seconds were filled with George Floyd crying out for help. 53 seconds then passed as he flailed due to seizures that he had. And then 3 minutes and 51 seconds passed as Floyd was non-responsive.
Terrifying. This is just terrifying.
I just teared up reading that. So I guess trigger warning after the fact, because it's tough. It's really, really tough to really look at and think about. So my main question is, why put this man in jail? Like, why isn't this man in jail already? Derek Chauvin is in no way innocent in this. I don't want to see the uprising in Minneapolis.
His defense, so his defense was like, oh, he did exactly what he was trained to do.
Oh, and what part of police academy training, like, what section do they cover kneeling on people's necks for almost 10 minutes straight?
Well, and even then, okay, let's say in a theoretical aspect, let's say, oh, they trained him to do that. Then the problem is still a problem. And also, it's worse because then the police is, training them to murder people. Like, I don't see a world in which, like, in either of those scenarios, he should get to go free.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really close to it because I live in Minneapolis. I literally work right next door to the Hennepin County Government Center where the trial is taking place, and all of the protests are taking place. So when I walk to work or when I walk to get lunch, I'll walk right past the building and I'll see, people there with their Black Lives Matter flags, and I know what's going on in there, and it's just so I'll be keeping on top of this story for sure, and I'm sure I'll bring up things in Potter Watch as they progress. But.
Well, yeah, and it's an important trial, and it's something that we should be doing more, prosecuting these officers who have definitely, instead of keeping us safe, make us fear for Black people and other people of color. Yeah. Not be afraid of them, but fear for their lives at the hands of the police.
What about you? Did you have something you wanted to discuss in Potter Watch this week?
So not necessarily anything like political, although I'm sure you've seen this, like Lil Nas X's wonderful music video.
I haven't actually watched the video yet, but I plan to, and I've heard lots of things about the whole situation.
So we're calling it a situation now.
Well, I mean, like, it's not just a video, right? Like, he released shoes, and then there's this thing with,
like a music. But let's talk first about the music video, because that's like the thing that keeps it all together, right?
Okay.
Yes. So without the music video, the shoes don't make that much sense.
Yeah, but then there's like this whole controversy like surrounding the shoes and shit. Like that's what I've mainly been hearing about.
Okay, but again, without the video in which he is giving the devil a lap dance.
Oh, fun stuff! Love it. Love that for him.
And like, all the conservatives are clutch as pearls, and all that stuff. So the shoes, though, were a collaboration between him and some New York City-based designers, is my understanding. And there's 666 pairs of these shoes, and they have at least one drop of human blood in each of them.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And there's like a pentagram like on the top.
The laces and along the laces, yes.
And aren't they Nike? Because I heard that there was something about how Nike was actually like against them, but they are Nike shoes.
So they are Nike shoes that a like New York City based designer is I guess they bought like the Nikes and then they actually can design on top of it.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's what
like a custom pair, yeah.
So that's what my company does, is like we put people's designs on already existing clothing, but when it's a name, we do work with some name brands. So like Nike is one of the brands that we work with, but they have like all those name brands like Nike, Patagonia, Under Armour, they all have very strict rules, and they all have to approve every design through their end before we can print it on their apparel. So like I'm surprised how they got around that, because like
I wonder if it's a situation in which if you buy the item full price, it's yours.
I guess, yeah, if you're not buying them wholesale. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe it's one of those things.
But then if you're going to resell them, it's different, though. There are resale laws, I think.
Who knows if they got around it in a weird way?
I don't know. It's weird.
It's also 666 pairs. Nike will live.
Yeah, but then it puts it associates their name brand with something they don't want to be. Like, for example, like we print out a lot of
with something cool. How dare they?
I know, right? Well, something that they're like against, I guess. But like, for example, we work with Patagonia. That's a brand that we work with a lot, and they are really super eco-conscious and like what do you call it? Just like eco-friendly, basically. And so they have rules where we can't put logos for like
an oil company,
mining or oil companies on the Patagonia, and like they have to make sure that like whatever we're putting on there doesn't promote like bad eco like things. I can't think of words right now, but like
so like your eco-terrorism group is not on like Patagonia. No, it cannot be.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So like there are brands that like enforce their ethical standards.
You know who could get like their logo printed on Patagonia though? Captain Planet.
Who's that?
Oh my god, you don't know how Captain Planet? It was like this 90s cartoon for kids. 80s, really.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that one.
It's very eco-conscious, and it's like a whole thing. Oh my god. See, this is where our rift continues.
Oh no.
Let's from Captain Planet to Hogwarts Debate Club. There really is no good transition.
There's no transition. No. But we are going to step into our Hogwarts Debate Club segment here, where we're going to talk about the politic that we believe encompasses the chapter that we're reading this week, and explain how it connects, and then we'll deep dive into those themes later in the episode. So what politic do you think speaks to chapter 29?
So I'm pretty sure my politic is recycled. Because I'm pretty sure I've already spoken about this season of Occupolitics. But I'm going to pretend like I didn't, okay? for this
It's
chapter.
cheating, but we'll allow it this time, I guess.
The politic that I chose for this chapter was the politics of speaking truth to power. So, it's not a whistleblower if they do it in your face, So that's why I wasn't like whistleblower. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that seems like, oh, of course it's the easy thing to do. But is it though? Because I've never really met like an activist.
The right thing to do, and the right thing to do is usually not the easier thing.
The easy thing to do, exactly. Like, do you think activists don't get pushback ever? Like when they're speaking truth to power? And I just kept seeing a lot of this in the chapter, right? Because we've got McGonagall like really standing up to Umbridge even more than we've seen it before, and like it's like pretty intense in this chapter. Right. And Fred and George, of course, standing up against Umbridge and Filch. Chef's kiss. Ron even telling Hermione, like, will you let it go already? Even though he's terrified of Hermione, and Hermione trying to speak her truth to Harry. She has no power over Harry and his decisions, right? But like she still keeps trying.
Yeah. Much to her dismay, she does not have power over Harry.
And even a little bit with like Sirius and Lupin talking to Harry and being like, yeah, your dad was a jerk, but like, who isn't?
Right. At 15. I'm 15. Oh.
But other than like not speaking truth to power in that case would have been like them telling Harry, what are you talking about? Your dad was great, and like not even acknowledge the things that he did that weren't cool or weren't kind. But they were like, yeah, of course he was a dick. Like, he's a teenage boy. Like, he wasn't any better than any of us, and we turned out okay. Yeah. And I think that they're also kind of saying like the problem is that that Snape hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So that's the speaking truth to power. What's your politic?
My politic is allegiance. So allegiance is defined as the support for and loyalty to a particular group, person, or belief. I have done the politics of loyalty in the past, and this one was kind of similar.
But we'll let it pass, as you said for mine.
Yes. It's I mean, like, when loyalty shows up in the definition of the word, I mean, but like, so we're seeing where people's allegiances lie in this chapter. We're seeing who people decide to form alliances with or to support. And we first of all, we see Harry struggling with his allegiance to his father after having learned all this new information about him that really like troubles him. And he's struggling with this so much that he feels he absolutely needs to speak to Sirius and is willing to do almost anything possible to do so. And so because he's struggling with his allegiance, he does find a way to speak to Sirius and Lupin, who then voice their allegiance to James by defending his actions and trying to make him look a little bit better in Harry's eyes. So I think that's a big show of allegiance to James from them. And then McGonagall, she shows her allegiance to Harry tenfold in this chapter with the whole fight with Umbridge. And she's like, I'm going to promise that I will do every single thing in my power to make sure that you become an Auror just because I fucking hate Umbridge. And she's telling you can't. And I'm saying you can. And I'm going to make it happen just sort of so I can laugh in her face.
I hate Umbridge so much that I promise you, Harry, I will let you be a wizard cop even though you should be a teacher.
Exactly. Like, I'm gonna pledge my allegiance to you no matter what and make sure that what you want happens, because it means I also get to prove someone else I don't like wrong. Woohoo!
Honestly, that's where like that's my McGonagall's goals right there. Like, be so petty and yet so brilliant. Like, heart emoji.
It's great. Yeah, it's a great McGonagall part. And then, of course, the very obvious at the end, where Peeves pledges his allegiance to the Weasley twins to give her hell. Which, I mean, if we're gonna move it to the deep dive anyway, that is my quote from the chapter. So, my quote from the chapter is, "Give her hell from us, Peeves," because it's the first time, and the author notes this, the narrator notes this, that this is the very first time that Peeves has ever shown allegiance to a student, ever. Like, he actually respects the Weasley twins, which he doesn't care about or respect any other student in Hogwarts his entire existence except for the Weasley twins.
Well, I think it's because hustle recognizes hustle.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in the Weasley twins, Peeves can see I see myself here too.
I see myself in you, for sure. What was the quote or moment that illustrates speaking truth to power the most to you in this chapter?
To me, it's that iconic McGonagall moment in which she's like, you know what? I'll make sure he becomes a magic wizard or like a cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harry will become a wizard cop even if that is the last thing I do.
I think the part that I think about when I think of truth of power, it's in the same conversation, but it's slightly different part where Umbridge is like, Harry has as much chance of becoming an Auror as Dumbledore has of returning to this school. And then McGonagall says, so a good chance then. Great, thanks. So it's definitely going to happen. Great.
Okay. So 110%.
Right, exactly. Love that
but
part.
Also, another part that I want to introduce as a bonus, if you will, is the part where she's like, need a cough drop, Dolores?
Yeah, she says it like 4 times. She's like, I can't, please let me get you a cough drop.
I was just like, girl, this is like watching The Housewives.
It's definitely like, it probably actually is my favorite McGonagall moment in the series. Like, that probably wins it for me, I think, that whole chapter. Better than even when McGonagall was, or when Umbridge was like sitting in on her lesson. Like, that was pretty great too, where she's just like, I generally do not permit people to talk while I am talking. Like, that's up there in the top 5.
I feel like this moment right now that we're talking about is a direct progression from that moment.
Yeah.
Where, like, she's still trying to be professional and kind and, but now she's just like, I'm taking my gloves off and this is going to be a fist-to-fist fight.
Exactly.
Beautiful. But for you, who was the character that embodied your politic?
I wrote down Sirius, and I'm having trouble remembering why.
I knew you were gonna say that. So I was like, you're like, I know I wrote this down.
I was like, I wrote it down, and then I was thinking about writing an explanation of why, but I don't usually write an explanation of why for the character because usually it's pretty obvious. I'm guessing it has something to do with like his allegiance to James. Like how he I don't know. I mean, like, I can't remember why I put him down. Man, this is gonna bother me. Well, I'm gonna guess it has something to do with that. And if I think of it later, I'll bring it up. But I guess the most obvious one that isn't Sirius is, I don't know. I mean, Sirius also shows allegiance to Harry too, but not really in this chapter. Anyway, I guess the most obvious that isn't Sirius is probably like Fred and George with Peeves. I don't know. I'm sure I know I remember having like a really good reason for Sirius when I wrote it down, and I don't remember why I wrote him. So what about you?
Well, I'm gonna try to help you out here. Did you mean like that Sirius perhaps shows his allegiance to Harry by being candid about how awful they were, but that it's still not a big deal?
Actually, I think it might have something to do with the fact that Harry had this like such a like strong desire to speak with Sirius. Maybe it was like Harry's allegiance to Sirius, even like I don't know. The
Well,
fact
actually, that
that
makes a lot of sense. Like Harry's allegiance to Sirius was so serious. But I was gonna say severe, which not cool because Severus. That he risked expulsion and
yeah. Well, I think maybe Harry wanted to speak to Sirius so badly because he knew that Sirius was so loyal to James, and Sirius, was so supportive of James in both, life and death, that he knew that talking to Sirius would help him feel better about his father, because Sirius would have nothing but good things to say about his father.
Yeah. Or just confronting Sirius, and Sirius would have to tell the truth because he was always candid.
Yeah. It's kind of, I think I probably put Sirius because it wasn't the obvious one, and I wanted to explain the reasons that it was him. But of course, I've learned for next time, I'm going to write down the
Why?
reasons.
Yeah.
If it's not super obvious, I'm going to write down the reasons. Life lessons. You learn. You live, you learn.
I was now just reminded of another moment that McGonagall's whole like speaking truth to power was very intense and it was burned into my heart. Is when she was like, yes, well, a competent defense against the arts.
Yeah. She's like, I don't think you understand. He hasn't had good marks in my class all year. Well, you're not the kind of teacher I'm talking about, Dolores.
Like, bitch, you incompetent. Like, no.
Loved it. She's so great in this chapter.
Oh, she's fantastic. But I also wanted to, because to me, like, the character really, like, McGonagall stole the show. Like, that's why it's my quote our moment. But she's not my character. Because my character are the Weasley twins. They were letting people concentrate on their exams, and they used that time to plan the greatest heist in the world.
Yeah.
Just to let Harry speak to Sirius. And this was so well planned that they even planned their exit from Hogwarts, knowing that once this went off, the probabilities of them being exposed to Filch's torture would be great. And that's what happens. Like, when you speak truth to power, you better, like, it takes a lot of bravery. It is the right thing to do. But sometimes you also have to, that doesn't mean you go in without a backup plan of what happens, so you can land softly somewhere. Because sometimes we tend to think it's like you speak truth to power means that you take every risk. That's not it. You do what you need to do, but you also try to safeguard your physical, emotional well-being by having an exit strategy that is safe, that maximizes safety for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't help but think, like, do you think that Harry felt guilty? Like, do you think that he felt like, he was the reason they had to leave school?
I feel like he felt guilty up until he saw how big of a success they became with the store.
Be like, oh man, they were just, supposed to do this diversion tactic for me, and it led to them basically dropping out of school, even though, like, he knows that they were planning on doing that anyway, because they say that. But, like, I would probably feel responsible if it were me.
Again, I think he would feel responsible up until he saw that they were a great success and they were really happy, and then they'd be like, you know what? Go for them. It worked out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I thought about how allegiance presents itself throughout the book, I kind of like realized that the entire book is like about like battles of allegiances. Mm-hmm. It's like, who do you support? The book is, what side are you on? Like, who do you have allegiance to? What's like, are you on? Do you believe Harry and Dumbledore, or do you believe the Ministry, or are you on Voldemort's side? And it's just, a back and forth game of like, oh, Harry and Dumbledore are crazy, but there are people who strongly are allied with them or believe them or support them. And then there's, the Death Eaters who have their allegiances to Voldemort. And then there are the people who like don't know what to believe, and therefore they just believe the Ministry and pledge their allegiance to what the Ministry is saying is the truth, and buying into all this stuff that they're saying about Harry and Dumbledore being crazy. So yeah, that's kind of how I saw Allegiance throughout the book. What about Truth to Power? I mean, I can see Truth to Power playing a very large part in the Order of the Phoenix.
Well, it literally is everything that is like main events in the series.
Yeah.
Harry keeps speaking out and saying like, nah, man, Voldemort's back. I saw him. Right. I was there. Like, I caught it in 4K. But he is dismissed. Him and Dumbledore is dismissed by the greater news outlets in the wizarding world. And it takes the Quibbler, which is a fringe publication, to kind of, I guess, propel him back to a form of normality. And perhaps that also happens because maybe some weird stuff is happening that reminds people of the before times, when Voldemort was still, at large, I guess. And, Order of the Phoenix is a organization speaking truth to power.
Exactly, yeah.
And so is Dumbledore's army.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all the books leading up to this were kind of like, we're going to stay inside the lines, we're going to follow the norms, blah, blah, blah. And then this book, it's like, okay, something's got to change. We're going to speak truth to power and gain back the control that we've been losing slowly throughout the series from the Ministry.
Also, in the books leading up to Order, yes, there was a lot of like norm following and rule following, and this is the structure and whatnot, and this is what we have to do to stay within the lines of the structure. And in comes someone like Dolores Umbridge to show us all that those are just as malleable and breakable as, anarchy. So she's just like, no, man, I don't need to do whatever the hell you think that I need to do. This is it. And I'm just going to blow every notion you had about like what this could look like.
Yeah.
In many ways, she's the Trump of the Hogwarts history.
Exactly. Speaking of Trump, someone who we hate quite a bit on this podcast. What else do we hate? We hate Dementors. And we're going to talk about our Dementors in chocolate. So first up is Dementors. And what is your Dementor in this chapter? Or
so a Dementor,
as you like to call it, your Ted Cruz.
My Ted Cruz. My Ted Cruz in this chapter, or something I read and said, wait a minute, that's not cool, is Filch's glee at the thought of corporal punishment.
Yeah. It's not a good look, Filch. It's not.
Not a good look, my man. Like, this is why, again, I think we need more mental health professionals in the wizarding world.
Yeah. Like, why are they hiring a guy who gets so much glee at the thought of physically torturing students to work at a school? Why would you hire someone like that to work at a school? Like, that should be on the job application. Like, oh, you want to work at Hogwarts? Do you gain pleasure from the thought of torturing humans? Yes or no? No? Okay, you can't work here. Like, or yes, you can't work here.
No, I think that's what happened. Like, that, I think that's what happened in the application, if we're being honest.
Yeah, like someone had a brain fart just like I did and was like, oh, you like torturing students? Great, here's a job.
You're hired. You have the exact aura and personality we're looking for.
Right. Oh, man. Well, can you guess what my Dementor is?
I'm sorry. Umbridge. exists. Helene's
Did
like, this is my
excuse me,
Dementor.
did Umbridge do a thing? Well, then you best believe.
Listen, guys, at this point, one chapter will say someone coughed, and just because it's the coughed, she's like, Dolores was there, and she is my Dementor.
Exactly. Yes. Well, the specific thing that I disliked that Dolores did in this chapter to make Dementor status was trying to stomp on Harry's career aspirations and goals just because she doesn't like him. Like, just because I don't like someone doesn't mean I'm going to tell them that they would suck at whatever their dream job is. Like, okay, I'm not going to let you be the person that you want to be. I'm not going to let you follow your career goals and aspirations because A, I have the power to do that, and B, I just don't like you as a person. Like, rude.
Yeah, super rude. I still am not super happy that Harry's aspiration in life is to be wizard cop. But, sometimes 15-year-olds don't know
Like,
what they
wouldn't
want
you
to do.
think that wouldn't you think he got enough of that kind of stuff just not being an Auror in his 7 years of Hogwarts? Like, he did all the things that Aurors eventually do, but
And
he did
yet,
them.
he kept going like, Expelliarmus.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's lived through enough. If I were him, I mean, maybe he is an adrenaline junkie. Maybe like that's just something that this is why we need therapists, because he needs to navigate these like adrenaline addictions that he has. But honestly, after the childhood this kid's had, I'd want a nice quiet life. Yeah. Oh, I defeated Voldemort. That's enough excitement for me.
Yeah, and didn't he like inherit a ton of money?
From his family, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you don't even need to like work, dude.
I know, right? He could literally do anything he wanted, and I'm surprised that being an Auror is what he actually wanted.
So I just like heard myself say this, and I'm like, this is why I'm not rich, like, because I'm like,
right.
Like if I inherited that much money, I wouldn't work, and then that's why God looked at me and went, no, this bitch need to work, like, no inheritance for her.
Speaking of money that can sometimes make people happy, what in the chapter made you happy? What was your chocolate money?
Oh gosh, I do love those like foil coins, like chocolate coins.
Yeah, we call them gelt. We use them in dreidel during Hanukkah. We gamble our chocolate money, which we call gelt.
I did not know that. So, my guilt in this chapter, as per usual, if Fred and George are in a chapter, 9 times out of 10, they're my chocolate.
Oh, okay. Just like Umbridge is always my Dementor.
Yeah. So, specifically in this chapter, when they're like, I think we're done with higher education for the, at the moment. Don't you think? Like, such a beautiful, like, quippy, witty repartee that just heightens the drama, the element of drama, and just makes it everything.
I really think that they, like, I know they didn't do the whole context of it in the films. Like, we don't learn about the swamp, and there's no, like, diversion so Harry can go talk in the, there's none of that in the movie. But I do think that this one scene where they, like, get their brooms, and they're like, I think that we've, reached our potential, or blah, blah, blah. I think that whole scene was done really well in the movie. So when I was reading this chapter, I definitely, like, pictured the movie scene.
So sometimes the best thing about an adaptation from book to film is, did it capture the essence, not the plot points, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think you are 100% right, in which in that scene in the film, they really captured the essence and the feeling of that, even though they didn't match it plot point by plot point.
True. Yeah, I think they did a good job.
And also that it was a callback to Dumbledore's exit,
Yeah, it definitely was.
You won't take me, you assumed you'd be taking me willingly,
You're like, oh, well, you thought I'd come quietly? And that's what they're like, oh, you think that we just give up? No, we're getting out of here. See you later.
Oh, I mean, because Filch was like really happy about like the dungeon thing and like the corporal punishment aspect of that. So, and they're like, also, oh, no, you're not going to get to punish me, you know?
Also, like, they were able to just say Accio brooms, and their brooms came. Like, why doesn't Harry just do that?
I know. That was so weird to me.
I mean, he'd obviously get in more trouble from Umbridge if he did that, but, like, what if she didn't find out? What if one day she just came into her office and the broom wasn't there? I don't know. I just think that, like, if it was that easy, why haven't they done that before? But anyway. So, those who know me will probably know what my chocolate is. Because your girl makes an appearance in this chapter and it has to be mentioned. My favorite character in the series, as most listeners probably know by now, is Miss Ginevra Weasley. Ginny... Okay. My all-time favorite Ginny line in the series is in this chapter. It cannot be ignored. I want this line tattooed on my body. I love this line. For those who do not know what I am speaking, anything's possible if you've got enough nerve. Love it. Encompasses Ginny. So great. Love that line. So that entire scene is my chocolate. Ginny coming into the library, giving Harry the chocolate Easter egg from her mom, and then, you know, her like noticing that he is feeling down, her being like emotionally aware of how he's doing and asking him about it and talking to him about it, and he's actually willing to like open up to her. So like, I have to say, there are people out there who don't think that Harry and Ginny belong together, who think that Harry never, like, there was no evidence in the book of Harry falling in love with Ginny, that it was just convenient for them to end up together because Ginny is Ron's sister, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Listen to me, okay? Listen to this. There is textual evidence that Harry is falling in love with Ginny in this chapter. Fight me on it. Honestly, this was such a great moment of intimacy between them. Like, you think that there's nothing between them until, like, all of a sudden, like, he just loves her out of nowhere in book 6. No! Chapters like this exist! Moments like this exist, okay? She comes up to him. They have a really brutal, honest, like, open, intimate conversation about their feelings, and Harry trusts her and opens up to her. Like, he won't even fucking say this shit to Ron or Hermione. He tells Ginny how he's feeling, and you know what she does? This is why he loves her. She comes up with a solution. She's not just like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. Like, oh yeah, it would be nice to talk to Sirius. Too bad you can't. She's like, you know what? Anything's possible if you got enough nerve. We're going to figure this out because I care about you and I want you to be happy. So that was my soapbox. I'm crying. I love Ginny,
okay? They're so cute. your diatribe on textual evidence of emotional intimacy between Ginny and Harry.
Have you seen
this? Wait. Cleared my skin and just I look 5 years younger.
It's like if you think really, really hard about it, does Harry have this level of connection with anyone else? No, he didn't. He didn't have this connection with Cho. He doesn't have this connection with Hermione or Luna, or Ron, for even God's sake. Like, yeah, he talks to Ron about stuff, but like, I can imagine him having the same exact conversation with Ron, and Ron just being like, but there's no way to talk to Sirius, is there? And then he expects Harry to come up with the answer, right? Doesn't Ron always expect Harry to come up with the answer to his problems?
Well, doesn't Harry always expect someone to come up with the answer too?
No,
it's a Harry man problem.
Comes up with all the answers. I mean, okay.
It's a man
problem. Evidence for both. There's evidence for both. But really, honestly, it was a moment of connection that I could not overlook. I loved it. They're so cute.
And it was at that moment that Helene started naming their children.
Honestly, like, just wait till we get to Half-Blood Prince. Half-Blood Prince is my favorite book, and the reasons, a lot of them have to do with Harry and Ginny, and so I will not shut up about them in that book. You just wait.
I'm just saying, cleared up my skin, added 5 years to my life, and I look younger.
Yes, I hope that it had similar effects to all of you listeners. Harry and Ginny for life. Hinny for life. Hashtag Hinny.
Oh gosh, I haven't laughed this hard in so long. Okay, so last week we asked our listeners the following question. If given the opportunity, would you look into the pensieve of someone you disliked? Why or why not?
Yeah, we got a lot of really good answers this week, so I can't wait to share them with you. Decatur Wine Poet on Instagram said, maybe it would be better if we could all do that. What better way to humanize someone and experience the world as they do? Might make us all a bit more understanding and compassionate.
Definitely written by a Hufflepuff. I can't say more.
Right, exactly. And then Phoenix Rose 314 on Twitter said, I would. Understanding and empathy could solve a lot of the world's problems.
Another puff.
Exactly. And then Afiore25 on Instagram said, probably yeah, just because of curiosity and also maybe to understand why someone acts.
Are we thinking maybe Ravenclaw on this one?
Maybe. Yeah, just like they
I'm
want to know.
I'm just sorting more. Everyone by their answers.
Yeah, apparently that is what you've decided to do. Well, what about? Well, this one might be a little obvious just due to the handle. Their handle is Heart Godric on Twitter, so I think they might be a Gryffindor. But let's see what their answer says. They said it depends. If it were just a person that I find to be personally obnoxious, I probably would resist it. If the person I disliked were a threat to humanity, like #Donald Trump, I'd go into the pensive for incriminating evidence.
That is definitely a Gryffindor. Like, that is the most Gryffindor answer. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, definitely. And then I think I kind of agree with this last one, which is a different answer than most of the other ones. Galaxy on Instagram said, no, because it's an invasion of someone's privacy, and if I already don't like them, I would just stay away. If I liked the person, I also would not go uninvited into their pensive.
This person, totally a puff, is just on the other side of the other puffs.
Yeah, I mean, so like I don't exactly know what I would do because I'm a very curious person, so I'd probably just want to know, but at the same time, there'd be a part of me being like, it might be better not to know. Also, but then also the guilt of like, I don't want to invade that person's privacy because like, how would I feel if they did the same to me? Like, do you personally want like your enemies knowing like the most embarrassing, like devastating moments of your past? Probably not, right?
Okay, so I see this in many ways. Let's say I had the opportunity and consent of someone I disliked.
The consent? Oh, good luck with that. Okay.
Yeah. Of someone I disliked to view a situation in the way that they viewed it. Mm-hmm. And what if that situation was involving me? I would want to have the opportunity to see myself and how I acted in a certain moment.
Yeah.
As an observer of that moment.
Yeah, but like in the case of the chapter, Harry was not in there at all. He didn't learn anything about himself.
No, I know that. But if like I also thought like the other way, other than like that other Gryffindor said, like if to find incriminating evidence and like record that shit real quick.
True.
Would be if I had someone, if we had a disagreement or we didn't like each other for any reason, and you could see those, the emotions and what ran through, like, because memory is subjective, right? So how does it look from their point of view?
Exactly, which I think would be the helpful part of being able to do this.
Yeah.
To help understand the person. But at the same time, like, there's just the ethical, moral question of, like, would you want someone to do this to you? And how would you feel? Like, I mean, imagine like Harry doesn't want Snape to know about his date with Cho. You know, like
Yeah,
he
no,
talks
I
about,
get it.
and like imagine letting Snape view the most embarrassing details of Harry's life. Like he wouldn't want that. So I don't know. It's really definitely a gray area, which is why I think it was a great question to ask, because there's a lot of different ways you could go at it.
Honestly, I think I would want to have to have the consent or like the permission to do it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to just do it willy-nilly.
True. Yeah. But it would be difficult to get the consent, but I agree that would be probably a stipulation I'd want to have too, if possible. All right. So this week's question is something that we discussed a little bit already early in the episode, and we want to hear your thoughts. So if you could choose, what career path do you think Harry should have taken after Hogwarts?
That's very exciting. Can't wait. Honestly, I lean towards like stay-at-home dad
Yeah, I mean,
for Harry.
I always thought teacher, but just because he so enjoys himself with Dumbledore's army, but there are lots of other things he could have done, and of course, as always, we want to know why you think what you think. So, what career path do you think he should have taken, and why do you think he should have taken that path? And we can't wait to read the answers that we get on next week's episode. Give you a little shout out.
Now it's time for the portion of this podcast where we stretch and we settle down after this lively discussion. Helene, let's talk about the non-Potter media that we have been consuming.
I was just gonna say Breaking Bad again, because that's literally all I've been watching. Just started season 5, by the way. I have actually been really trying to figure out what Hogwarts house I would put Walter White in, because he is such a like unique fictional character. I don't think I've ever I consume tons of fiction every year, like so many things, and I don't really think I've ever come across a character quite like Walter White before. He is very interesting, very very crunchy, like lots of different layers and things. Like, you know, you hate him one second, you love him the next. Like you have empathy for him, but then you also just cannot understand why he does some of the things he does. And so I've been really trying to figure out what Hogwarts house I'd put him in. And I mean, the easy answer would be Slytherin. And as the show goes on, I kind of see Slytherin a little bit more, but definitely like the first 4 seasons, I was kind of leaning. I was kind of between Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff. More Ravenclaw. I think Jesse is definitely a Hufflepuff. Loyalty is like that man's backbone. Like all he everything he does is like based on loyalty. So he is like definitely a puff. But I mean, Walter's literally a genius, and he's a chemist, and he cares about the craft, and he's like everything has to be right. And so I could see Ravenclaw, but let me know if you guys watch Breaking Bad. Let me know what your thoughts are. I've had this conversation with a couple of my MuggleNet coworkers, and there's this kind of like a really interesting debate going on in this area. So, but that isn't even what I wrote down. I wrote down a video game that I've been playing with my sister and some of our friends called The Witness on PlayStation. It's been out for quite a while. It came out in like 2016, but it's a lot of fun if you haven't played it. I think it's like on sale or like super cheap on PlayStation right now, where it's just like you're stranded on a deserted island with no explanation whatsoever, and there are just like a ton of puzzles around you, and you just have to solve all these random puzzles, and it's like really really interesting how it makes your brain, like your mind work. Like I definitely feel like I'm exercising my brain when I play it. So check it out if you like games.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have been watching the same thing I watched last week, which was the documentary series Q Into the Storm. And the plot thickens on this one. It's just one of those documentaries, like, just when you think you're close to the answer, there's more information.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gets you closer to what you thought, but maybe not. Like, it's just a lot of
Yeah.
dots to connect. I feel like that meme of Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, like just
right,
like a cork board and like all the like different
the investigation board with all the different lines and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but also
it's weird because you're watching something
about conspiracy theorists. And it's just very meta in this house right now.
I was just about to say, it seems very meta for sure. That's the word I would use. I'm definitely gonna have to get to that eventually for sure.
And the intro to the show, like, I know that is this is more on like on the aesthetics of it, right? Like on just very superficial level. But the intro to the show is so truly well done. It's just like whichever graphic designer did this intro to the show deserves like all the awards.
Interesting.
It's like that kitschy but also techno aesthetic. I don't know, it's just you have to see it to understand.
Okay, interesting. Oh, I will definitely pay attention to that when I eventually watch this.
Don't take too long so we can discuss our conspiracy theories.
Well, I mean, what? We're just not, like, are you worried that I won't watch it until after we're no longer on speaking terms? Come on, we can talk about it whenever I watch it.
No, because what if then we find out who Q is?
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
It's like, it's like the developing of a...
We're chasing the clock. It's a race. It's a race
against the clock. We don't know who Q is yet.
Yeah, but we might. Yeah, well, join us for more conspiracy theories next week, because that's it for today's episode. Join us next week to talk about conspiracy theories and also Chapter 30 of Order of the Phoenix, titled Grop.
Well, if you've enjoyed this conversation, please take a second and give us a 5-star rating, 5 estrellas, por favor, on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening right now. It helps new listeners discover the podcast and makes us, your co-hosts, who rely on the love and affection of our listeners, all happy and fuzzy inside and also still alive.
Yes, we're like Tinkerbell. We thrive off of external validation and
like Lady Gaga, we live for the applause.
Yes, exactly. But until then, politics managed.
Support this show by going to patreon.com/Occhiopolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at Occhiopolitics.com, and we are at Occhiopolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@Occhiopolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699, and you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Karp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Occhiopolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.